Hi everybody, I hope that you're all doing really well. So today I am back to talk about books to relieve your soul, to cheer you up. This is a video that I know Shah from Thoroughly Enjoyed Books and Karis from Karis's Corner have definitely done. I think I also saw Jean from Jean's Bookish Thoughts do it. And of course I was immediately inspired to do my own version of this video. Just talking about books to put you in a better mood because quite frankly, I think we all need that right now. And what I really love about what I've seen from these videos from other people is that the books that they choose all seem very tailored to them and their personal reading tastes and their interests, and I think that's really fun. The books that people find comfort in are so subjective, so personal, and I feel like that really comes across with the books that I've chosen as comfort reads. These books all feel very me, and of course Charlotte would choose that. So I hope you enjoyed this video and find something that you think might just bring you out of any sort of sumpy mood that you might be feeling. First off, I know for a lot of people their first port of call when they feel like they need cheering up is something that's quite nostalgic and reminds them of their childhood. A lot of people do turn to the literature that they read when they were children, and there are so many such books that I could choose for this, but the one that popped into my mind straight away was Matilda, because I realised I do definitely turn to Matilda when I'm feeling down, whether or not that is by the book or whether that's through the film. The 1996 film with Mara Wilson and Danny DeVito definitely was just a go-to, especially when I was at university. And also, side note, is a movie that now makes me cry as an adult. It never used to make me cry as a child, but now whenever I watch it, there are two specific lines that always make me cry. Firstly, when Danny DeVito says as the narrator, "These books gave Matilda a hopeful and comforting message, you are not alone." I'm just instantly crying. And then when Miss Honey takes Matilda to her cottage and then she kind of looks at her and says, "You were born into a family that doesn't always appreciate you, but one day things will be very different." And I'm just like, oh, because I don't think it kind of registered to me as a child that her parents are actually neglectful. They're not just, kind of mean. They are actually neglecting their child, and that's horrifying. Anyway, this is about things that cheer you up, sorry. But yeah, I always got so much comfort out of Matilda, and yes, I do have 3 copies of Matilda for whatever reason. I think in my life I've probably owned 5 different copies of Matilda. I've got this absolutely stunning one of Matilda as the chief executive of the British Library. This was made to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Matilda, and when you take off the dust jacket, it's so pretty, oh. You see why I had to have this, right? I've got this one that was inspired, I think, by the musical. You've got the books and the cake and the new, and then Matilda just in her pose. And then this one, which is just the book standard Matilda, which comes with the box set of Roald Dahl. And yeah, especially as a child, I used to get so much comfort out of Matilda because I just didn't grow up with a lot of kids who were particularly bookish, who were very quiet and who loved reading like I did. Matilda spent a lot of her time, especially when she wasn't at school, on her own. And I feel like as a kid who was not always the best at making friends, especially in primary school, who liked to have her head in her books a lot more of the time than actually talking to people, you kind of got a lot of strength and confidence out of Matilda. And then as an adult, this story is just so lovely to return to. In a similar vein, returning to old favourites, if I'm trying to cheer myself up on any given day, Jane Austen is often the way to go. Typically, I will often watch an adaptation of Jane Austen, usually Pride and Prejudice or Emma, and before anybody asks me television series or film for either one of those, both. Always both. I will never understand the arguments between people who are solely BBC miniseries or solely film for either one of those. The 1995 BBC miniseries of Pride and Prejudice is fantastic. The 2005 film with Keira Knightley, absolutely one of the best pieces of filmmaking that I have ever seen. I love it so much. The 2009 miniseries of Emma always and forever has my heart, but I also love the beautiful candy confectionery of the 2020 movie. I love them all, and you will not force me to choose sides. In my humble opinion, the more Austen there is, the better. You don't need to pick sides, alright? But anyway, back to the book. Yes, the original classic is always something that I like to go back to. However, the delight of a reimagining of this world is always very welcome. No, I will not shut up about this book. I love it. Because I feel like when a Jane Austen reimagining gets it right, oh, so much comfort, so much joy. I was smiling the whole way through reading this because I felt like I was back in that world. And you feel like even though you are reading a new story and you're imagining, you are back with these characters, and that's just so lovely. As you'll know if you've watched my wrap-ups, last year seemed to be the year of Jane Austen retellings. I read this, I read Longbourn, I read Charlotte, and this was definitely my favourite, but I feel like we've all got our own preferences and our own favourite Austen that we like to see reimagined, and yeah, it's getting that taste of Austen, but also feeling like you're getting something new, and it's comforting, but also you feel productive, which is nice. I don't know if any of that made sense. And once again, obviously, Obviously I love my Austen, so. Now, on the theme of a reimagining, a retelling, something that definitely has cheered me up in the last couple of days is this. This was a delightful gift that I got from Aoife at Pretty Purple Polka Dots, which is William Shakespeare's The Taming of the Clueless. This is basically the script to Clueless, but with a Shakespearean makeover. This is the newest in the series, I believe, but they've also done Much Ado About Mean Girls, which I have to get my hands on. They've also got a Back to the Future version and all of the Star Wars films. But I remember seeing this online and thinking, I have to have this, because it's a combination of two things that I love, Clueless and Shakespeare. What could be better? Just to give you a little taste of how they Shakespeareanize Clueless, my absolute favourite bit is when she's looking at the boys and the 90s fashion of boys and kind of lamenting how badly dressed men are. Though I'd not be a traitor to my age, no turncoat to my generation hold, I do confess confusion and dismay, the way lads dress is nothing short of odd. As if they fell like apples from their beds, adorn themselves in poorly fitting plants, more like broad bags than pantaloons in troth, then cover greasy hair with filthy caps which they wear backwards and proclaim its style. In public they appear arrayed as such, and should we women swoon to see them so? Nay, I think not, and never shall be swayed. To search for lads in high school is a quest as useless as the hunt for meaning in the dramas of the actor Pauly Shore, the nation's jester. A most dull fool is he, and none but libertines delight in him. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of joy out of this. I think when I need cheering up, I am definitely one for the retellings, because once again, I've got Greek myth retellings, but in this case, comedic myth retellings. So here I have Mythos and Heroes by Stephen Fry, as well as Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. Because I think the comfort and the fun from reading these is not really in like learning the Norse or Greek myths, but it's in the way that their narrators tell it. It's the way that Neil Gaiman and Stephen Fry like to write about these myths. They're not being told in a really dry way, even though I feel like it must take some sort of skill to make the Greek myths boring. They're so fun! But I think these really work to draw out the humour and put it right full on show, and I think when you need cheering up, that's exactly the kind of narrator that you need. If you've ever been intimidated by mythology, like, get thee to these. A lovely little palette cleanser when I was feeling really down was this. This is another book that I got as a gift, this time from Leanne Rose, and this is just like a little comic strip of what it's like to be a book lover. Books plus tea equals perfect weekend. The pain of stickers on books. And I feel especially if you're in a bit of a reading slump, like this is the perfect thing to pull you out, because it's a quick read and also just so fun. And speaking of a book with lots of pictures in it, I know everybody got such a kick out of this book last time I showed it, but it's back, it's back. This is Our Rainbow Queen by Sally Hughes, which is basically just a book with all of the different colours that the Queen has worn. Yes, this is probably the silliest book that I own, but I don't care. I get so much joy out of this, because this is just the old lady style that I want. This is everything I aspire to in my wardrobe. Look at the Queen in print! Looks. It's just fun. We all have our fun junk food, and this is mine. A cheer-up book that I've chosen purely for the title is Love Will Tear Us Apart, A Philosopher's Guide to Relationships by Julia Eidelman. This is a book that basically mixes like 18th century philosophy with like social media and what would happen if like these big philosophers had social media. How would they navigate their love lives? For example, different philosophers and their mixtapes. Sigmund Freud would have I Love My Mama by Snoop Dogg, The Father Who Must Be Killed by Morrissey, and Dreams by Fleetwood Mac. Karl Marx, Working Class Hero by John Lennon, I'm a Slave for You by Britney Spears, and Work by Rihanna. There is going to be somebody like me who finds this funny. On a similar historical bent, we've got A Short History of Drunkenness, How, Why, Where and When Humankind Has Got Merry from the Stone Age to the Present by Mark Forsyth. I feel like I'm constantly recommending this as like a funny history book and nobody takes me up on it. This is basically a fun popular history about alcohol and drunkenness and how that has kind of played out through the centuries. And I always feel like my big selling point of this is that Mark Forsyth uses about 50 different words for drunk, and it's fun to note down every single time he uses a new word. And it's just funny, and I feel like anybody who says that history in non-fiction is really dry, you need to read this. Almost every culture on earth has drink, and where there's drink, there's drunkenness. But in every age and in every place, drunkenness is a little bit different. It can be religious, it can be sexual, it can be the duty of kings or the relief of peasants. It can be an offering to the ancestors or a way of marking the end of a day's work. It can send you to sleep or send you into battle. Marvel at how Greeks got giddy and Romans got wrecked, and find out how bars in the Wild West were never quite like in the movies. A Short History of Drunkenness traces humankind's love affair with booze from our primate ancestors through to prohibition, answering every possible question along the way. What did people drink? How much? Who did the drinking? Of the many possible reasons, why. This is a history of the world at its inebriated best. It's great, read it. If you've watched my 2020 best books video, then you may have been expecting this. It is Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I'm sure you've heard everybody talking about this. This is a love story between a fictional first son of the United States and a Prince of England. And the reason that I'm recommending this as a book to cheer you up is because that was exactly what this book was for me. The day that I picked this up, I was on day 2. You know. And it was not a good time. I was in a very low mood. I needed something to cheer me up. I saw the audiobook of this and I was like, yes, that is exactly what I need right now. And I thought this book was just going to be like dumb, fun cutesiness, which is exactly what it is, but I got a lot more out of it than just that. As I've said before, there are some moments in here where I am just completely rolling my eyes because it doesn't feel like any research has been done on the British royal family. But I could quickly get over it because the romance is so cute, the characters are great, and I've already returned to this twice already when I've been feeling in a bad mood. So if that's not a sign of a cheering up comfort book, I don't know what is. When I was a teenager especially, my go-to for comfort reads was always Sophie Kinsella. Particularly the Shopaholic series was my go-to. I know that Emma from Drinking by My Shelf has recently done like a little readathon marathon of the Shopaholic series, and I was watching that and I do tend to agree with her that probably the first and the second books are probably the best ones. The series is all about a girl called Becky Bloomwood who, as the title suggests, is a bit of a shopaholic. She does not know how to handle her money. The funny part of it is her personality and the way that she kind of reasons herself out of certain situations, the ways that she justifies her shopping behaviour where you're both relating to her but you're also like, oh god no, why did you do this? But I do agree with Emma that the further on into the series you go, the less relatable Becky seems to be and the less funny it is, because it becomes so apparent that Becky is just so privileged and so wealthy and it basically is able to just use money to get her way out of situations, and it's like, not everybody can do that, Becky. But definitely the first book is my go-to. If I'm in a bad mood, like I just need to read a couple of pages of this and I'm back. But I feel like any of Sophie Kinsella's books could really do that for you. The thing with Sophie Kinsella is she does kind of write the same protagonist over and over again. It is basically Becky but with a different name. But I think that's exactly what you want in a comfort read. You want to know what you're getting yourself into, and you'll always get that from Sophie Kinsella. One of the books that I haven't read for a really long time but was like my favourite when I was younger was Can You Keep a Secret? This is a book about a girl called Emma who has so many secrets, so many lies that she's holding on to, and she is generally really good at keeping them. However, one day she has a near-death experience on a plane and she basically spills all of these secrets to this one guy thinking that she's going to die. She thinks nothing more about it and then she finds that guy at her workplace and it's like, oh god, he knows everything. What's gonna happen? And I remember me and my mum reading this together and just howling hysterically. And that's what Sophie Kinsella is good for, being able to get you from being in a bad mood to howling. And then the last 3 books I'm going to talk about are all together because they're all kind of under a similar theme, which is humorous takes on work. Because sometimes what you need when you're in a bad mood is to be reminded that we all have those days, and especially this happens with work. So here I have Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops by Jem Campbell, all about her experiences working at an antiquarian bookshop in London and the weird and wacky and wonderful things that she used to be asked by her customers. Are all your books for sale or just some of them? Do you have any books by Jane Eyre? Hi, I just wanted to ask, did Anne Frank ever write a sequel? I read a book in the 60s. I don't remember the author or the title, but it was green and it made me laugh. Do you know which one I mean? And then also Adam Kay's 2 books about working as an NHS doctor. We've got This Is Going to Hurt, which was the original book, and then the Christmas edition, 'Twas the Night Shift Before Christmas. With the caveat for these that, of course, because it is medical diaries, there are some really sad things that do happen. So bear that in mind, but I will just say, like, the funny moments in this of people sticking things in places that they maybe shouldn't, I do just find really funny. There are definitely moments reading this that I was just, once again, in hysterical laughter. I'd say out of the 2 of them, if you're wanting something to cheer yourself up, maybe go for this one. I feel like this one has the most humorous moments, whereas this one is, it ends very sadly because it ends with him deciding not to be a doctor and the incident that made him come to that decision. I feel like somebody needs to make a website where they kind of tab like the sad moments or the bits that might make you a little bit queasy reading this, because the funny moments, when you get to the funny moments, are hysterical. And I think the theme with these is that just sometimes you need to be reminded how silly the world is and how silly people can be, and it can pull you out of that foul mood and you just need to laugh. You need a belly laugh. So yeah, those are all of the books that I have to cheer you up if you're feeling just a little bit down and you need something to pep yourself back up. Grab a nice book, grab a blanket, grab a nice hot drink of something, just curl up on your sofa and read, and hopefully it's not gonna fix everything, but it might just get you through. Do let me know any of your personal cheer you up books that you love to go to. Do let me know if you've read any of these and what you think. I'd love to hear from you. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.